The Christian in Complete Armour by William Gurnall. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 17b. Chapter 18. Against the same church of Rome for imputing insufficiency to the Scriptures. This falls heavily upon them that charge the Holy Scripture with insufficiency, as not containing all things necessary to salvation. What a horrid blasphemy is this, and reproach to the great God, that he should send his people into the field, and put such a wooden sword into their hand, as is not sufficient to defend them, and cut their way through their enemy powers to heaven, whether he orders them to march. Would any gracious prince that loves the lives of his subjects give them arms that are not fit to oppose such an enemy as comes out against them, if he knows how to furnish them with better? Nay, would he give them such weak and insufficient weapons for their defense, and then charge them to use no other? This were unworthily to send them as sheep to the shambles, and could significant nothing but that he had a mind their throats should be cut by their enemies? And doth not God himself highly commend this sword of the Scriptures to his people when he tells Timothy, it is able to make him, as a Christian, wise unto salvation, 1 Timothy 3:15, and as a man of God, or minister of the gospel, perfect and thoroughly furnished unto all good works, verse 17. Yea, though he not also forbid us the use of any other weapon than what the Scripture furnishes us withal, to the law and to the testimony he sends us, Isaiah chapter 8:21, and makes it a renouncing of our allegiance to him to go anywhere else for counsel or protection than to his written word. Should not a people seek unto their God for the living to the dead? Then follows, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them, verse 19 and 20. It seems then God doth not count we seek him, except we inquire for him at the law and the testimony, and bring all we hear to their test. Surely that which is intended by God is to be to his people, with the standard and town brushel art into the market, a rule to measure all doctrines by, is itself exact and sufficient. But the world by this time knows where the insufficiency of the Scripture lies. Sufficient they are for God's end, but not for the Pope's. They are able to furnish every true Christian with wisdom enough how he should save his soul. But the Pope finds himself grieved that they are not so useful to help him to keep the triple crown on his head, and do not furnish him with the grounds with which he may defend the lordly power and godlike infallibility which he claims, with other doctrines held forth by him. And this is the only defect he can charge the Scripture with, to supply which the ramble route of tradition is brought into the church, all taught to speak the Pope's sense, before they see the light, and that reputation may be gained to those unknown witnesses. This way their fine wits and the devil's help, who owes the Scripture, in old spite, ever since the first promise rescued Adam out of his hand, have taken that the Scriptures be declared insufficient and uncertain, just as Antiochus served the Emperor Alexis, Alexius, who gave out that he was weak and insufficient to govern alone, and so first got a joint power with him, and at last an absolute power over him to dethrone him. And whether their traditions have dealt better by the Scriptures, the world may judge. When traditions go up, the written word is sure to go down. Ye have made, saith Christ to the Pharisees, the commandment of none effect by your traditions. Matthew 15:6. You have unlorded it, and supplanted its authority in the minds of men who leave the word to hearken to your traditions. End of chapter 18.